Welcome to the Ascend Growth AI podcast, where we mix smart growth moves with a little AI magic. I'm Teresa. Let's dive in. For today's guest, we have Melissa Coburn, a franchise owner with Squeegee Squad. So, Melissa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So, why don't we start by having you share your journey with us?
Actually, I am a corporate expat. I have worked in the largest utility business here in central Kansas for 15 years. My husband and I both were on the leadership team. We actually started from entry level positions and worked our way up. And then after the 15-year mark, we had an opportunity to buy a little car wash. And so we did that. And that was our first kind of step into entrepreneurship. And then a couple years later, a few mergers happened. Corporate life wasn't as high performing, as fun and exciting as it once was. And I was ready to try something new. So we actually were on Biz Buy sale one Sunday over breakfast, and an opportunity for a friendly neighborhood window cleaning company came open. And at that time, it was the winter of 2019. We had contacted the franchise and they came down and took us to a fancy dinner. And it didn't take much to convince me that it was something that we wanted to do. We took the leap and we actually cleaned our first set of windows and opened our doors March 7th. What's interesting is March 19th, the world shut down. So the first year was really interesting because most folks were moving to their homes. And for us, that was a blessing because we were able to continue working because we could clean outside their homes while they were working and they had all that disposable income. So the first year that we were in business was predominantly residential and it was pretty restricted to that. The next year, as we were climbing out of COVID, our residential platform grew substantially from there. Then in late 2021 is when we started our commercial-based operations. And now, jump ahead 5 years later, we're over $1 million in revenue now. We have 17 employees, 10 trucks, a building, and 2 dogs in the shop. So it's pretty great. We've got myself, I'm the CEO and president. My husband, who has now left his corporate job and is running our operations team. So he's our COO. He has the operations team under him. And then we've got a front office person and a production manager and a supervisor and 14 techs. So it's a pretty great, loud, busy, running environment now.
Right. Wow. Congratulations. I mean, what a wonderful story, especially for people who are in corporate, right? And they're kind of hesitant about making the jump. That's a fantastic.
Yeah, we were very blessed. So when we took the leap, we had just become empty nesters and we were essentially we were pretty much debt free. And so we kind of jumped without a safety net and we bootstrapped the entire time. And so every dollar we earned, we put back into the company, and we were blessed to be able to take a lower salary those first couple of years. To talk about cost management and how we got there, we did it. We are 100% equity owners. We do not have loans. We do not owe anybody money. Everything in this business was earned and grown within the business.
Yes. So you have to talk about some of your tricks later. I guess for those people who don't know, what does Squeegee Squad do?
Yeah. So predominantly our services are window cleaning, pressure washing, and gutter cleaning. One of the things that's really exciting that our division has kind of brought to the franchise is that now we do holiday lighting. Our franchise in particular has actually taken on we do a zoo. And so we do quite a bigger platform. So we have like 3 big Christmas events that we put on a year. And that's actually where I've been today, and why I look so disheveled is because I'm organizing Christmas lights this week, getting them ready to put up at a zoo.
And how does Christmas lights and window cleaning work? Is it because you kind of have the infrastructure?
Everyone on my team goes through a program called Safety Advocates, and it's out of Illinois. A lot of what we're seeing is that anything that requires rope descent, harnessing, lift work, those kinds of things, you really just can't mess around with safety. And that's where we come in because all of our guys are pre-certified for all of those things. It's really turned into more of a high risk company and not just window cleaning or pressure washing or whatever service we're doing up there. I mean, we've had window companies pay us
Right.
to go up and cut out caulking for them. I mean, if lifts become a challenge
Right.
with all of the building that we're doing in our region around here, it's kind of difficult to call United Rental and get a lift right away. But you can call Squeegee Squad and we can tie to an anchor and help you get. We've rescued drones. I mean, it's kind of interesting. And now with the development of solar panels and everything that's going on, we'll move right into that as well.
Right. Yeah. Has that inspired the other franchise?
Yeah, so Mike and I have been really blessed and been lucky that we get to work with the new franchises as they come out. So they go to the Squeegee Squad boot camp, right? And we offer an extension week where they can come and either spend time here in our shop with us or we will come to them. And these are some of the revenue generating ideas that we talk to them about. There's other areas of the country where this doesn't work and they're painting instead. So we come up and do a market analysis and review and we tell them not to try to be the jack of all trades because that's honestly where we see other franchises and other small businesses getting in trouble is that they're deviating away from their core competencies, not only taking away from their ability to deliver on those core competencies, but it's also diluting the skill set, right? And the more you dilute, the harder it is to be the best in your industry. And that is our goal. So our goal is to be the best, not just at the service that we provide, but for our customers so that it's so convenient and it's so easy that they just don't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah. How many franchisees are there?
76. I think we're somewhere in there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good amount.
It's been predominantly north, south, and east, but we are moving west. I think we've got a Scottsdale, Arizona now. I'm pretty sure we've got some Californias coming up. I know we've got a Utah coming up. So I think we're doing a really good job of starting to expand west.
Right. Okay, that's good. So earlier you mentioned, the hard work, right? And some of the stories. So I
Yeah.
was just curious if you can share some lessons.
Yeah, I didn't have the first recommendation that I tell every new franchisee is to buy the book Profit First. If I analyze my spending the first year versus analyze my spending the second year after going through the Profit First book, it's night and day. I mean, I made a profit every year since reading and adopting those practices. So I highly recommend that book. There's some meat and potatoes to it that talk to you about making sure you pay yourself as the owner before you pay your discretionaries. That's super important. We don't quit our corporate jobs and start a business so that we can be in debt the rest of our lives. And I find it easier if I pay myself first. And that holds me accountable, right? To making enough to pay everybody else. Some of the other things that we've done are pretty typical to some of the practices that we had done in corporate America, right? We did like an abbreviated EOS where we evaluated like our truck maintenance and how our trucks were set up and when we were purchasing supplies and were there trend marks there and if we purchased those supplies in January. So for example, this year, because of the holiday lights, that is our number one tariffed supply that we have to purchase. So I bought our Christmas lights for the year to supply our customers in January before the tariffs hit. So all of my constituents have to charge with a tariff now and I don't. Or I do, depending. But it's those kinds of things that we try to look at. The way that Mike and I try to operate is I try to look 3 months ahead at what he's going to be doing. And then I will research and try to make that possible the most efficient way. That also came from a book. So we read a leadership book in here every year, and we try to implement the key golden nuggets that come from it. So Profit First was our first big one. And then our next big one was Six Geniuses. So it talks a lot about where your leadership team, where their skills are and where their skills are not. And what's interesting is that you mentioned AI. We recently have started using AI for a plethora of things. We have all of our project planning, all of our project management, our design concepts, any big RFP that we're responding to, or any big, large quote, every bit of that goes through AI and templates that we've set up to be able to run that. And then just some of the other things that are really beneficial from a franchise perspective is that we've been able to leverage each other, the network. If I've got a new service that a neighboring franchise doesn't have, then they'll be able to tap into us first. Or like this year, we had a couple of squads around us that needed help with high rise. Well, so I could just deploy our guys down the road to go help. So that's some of the stuff that we've tried to do. One of the biggest things that Profit First teaches you is to take your P&L and really be honest with yourself about what's discretionary and what's a must-have.
What's an example of a discretionary versus a must-have?
So I have a subscription. So subscriptions would be the first thing, right? We really analyze our subscriptions we scrutinize them pretty good, because it's easy to get signed up for something and then not use it for a year and not even remember that you signed up for it. And yes. I think in 2023 we did that, and we found like $4,600 in subscriptions that we weren't even using. And that was year 3, right? So I can't imagine, right? Another thing that we did this year that has been huge for us, it's kind of an interesting dynamic. It may not affect a lot of people, but we noticed that for our general liability for insurance, that we were being charged for high rise for every bit of our work, which meant that our general liability was 7% of our gross revenue. So I kind of went back and challenged the insurance brokers and had them compete and said, pitch me your ideas for how you can do this better. And I got it down to 3%. So sometimes it's just getting a little creative about challenging your vendors to meet you at the table and leveraging your franchise to do so. I mean, right. Like we have national accounts for equipment rental, so, and some supplies, and they're significant. It's not a little bit, it's a lot. So right. Negotiating with our vendors, ordering intentionally. We have in scheduled jobs. If I've got 2 jobs and they're only a mile apart, but they both need the same lift, you bet I'm scheduling them together. And I even give the customers a kickback if they let us do it, because we're saving that much by doing that. So strategy and pre-thinking is a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's on top of your business. I mean, you really know what, like your P&L and...
It's been a long road. We did it a lot manually. So I would have loved to have had the tools that we have at our disposal today, because they just simply didn't exist, or they weren't on the market 5 years ago when we were getting started.
Right. But maybe if you didn't do it manually, then you may not have known as much as you do now. I mean, the manual does help with that. So what's working well for you in your business right now, and what are you proud of?
I think the biggest thing for us is I'm really proud that we are recognizing the generational shift and we're making those adjustments. So you can do all the planning you want right now, but if you don't get the employment right, it's still not going to work. One of the things that we deal with, and you will in your business too, is that we service the oldest generation with the youngest generation. And those lenses and those experiences and even their behavior, just the way they approach the world, the way they see the world, the importance that they put on things, we could not be more bipolar opposite. We spend a lot of our time resetting expectations, role playing, helping our young people understand why things matter to some of our customers, but also in reverse the other way. So Mike and I spend a lot of time coaching our customers on how to receive better care too. Okay. Because if you've got the most amount of expectations and you want to pay the least, you're probably not going to get the experience that you want. And so a lot of it is just being open and honest and carrying a dialogue so that people know they can trust you and they know you're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes. Right. And that's what makes us successful, honestly. I mean, of the 14 kids that I have in the field on a daily basis, I never have to worry about them doing something illegal, unethical, anything of that nature. But the fact that I have 2 of them that have gone through kind of this training program that we're working on for generational right now, and one of them has received 22 5-star reviews in the last month. We just need to do it on a bigger scale.
That's a great answer. I haven't heard someone say that Yeah. So did you guys have to figure that out through trial and error?
Yeah, so the construction industry is really interesting. By 2031, we're going to be down 40% of our workforce because they're going to be retired. And we don't have a bunch of kids that are super jazzed about coming in their place. We're trying to change that because the pay is going to be magnificent. If we can do that and change the dynamic where it no longer feels like a lesser class job, then we'll be really doing something. But it's really hard to get people in the door, especially after COVID. We have some learned helplessness out there, I think, still lingering. And so, I mean, there'll be days where I'll block my entire day and have nothing but interviews planned and not a single person will show up. And we hear that from every constituent we have. And so, if we want to provide a place where people are actually going to seek out employment, we have to be doing things a little bit different. It can't just be serving your customers, paying your taxes, and going about your business. It's you have to be intentional.
Yeah, and I guess because that generation, I mean, we're talking Gen Z, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming. A lot of them, I just saw the stat, like a lot of them want to be YouTubers or influencers, content
Yep.
creators. When I was talking to someone else, another leader, and he was saying they're more motivated by flexibility.
That's the thing, right? So when I was advertising for open positions and I was putting, we'll match 401k for you by 2%, do you know that they like some crazy stat I heard was something like 60% of Gen Zers don't believe that the world is going to exist after they're 40? And so if you're advertising 401k in retirement, you're missing the mark altogether because they don't even understand the importance of retirement or why to have it because they don't think we're going to all be here then. So we started advertising flex schedule and choice of partner in the truck because they're not motivated by money. I could throw all the money I want at these kids. They don't care. It is 100%. They want to be comfortable. They want to be doing something that they feel like is making a difference. They want to be heard. They want to have a voice. And if they get to contribute to what they're doing every day, boy, you're going to get so much good energy out of them. But if you just try to manage them the way that historically bosses have managed technicians, you're not going to get anywhere. The retention rate is going to be about 6 months.
Wow. That sounds like you have like gold right there. I mean, if you figured it out, that's amazing.
I will say we have stumbled on the potential answer. The actual execution of it is a lot harder than you think. Because every day when I come in with the best of intentions, but I have 17 distractions, it's not very easy to execute on it. That's where that six geniuses comes back in because
Okay.
our ops supervisor is excellent psychoanalysis, wonderful patience, can handle anything that's thrown at him 100 times a day and still comes back with grace. We did that intentionally. We sought that skill set out.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. The flip side, what's been frustrating?
I would say for me, the frustrating thing is that we don't feel like we get a lot of support at our state just from I don't want to say support. I want to say it's more and more difficult to own a business and get the right paperwork filed and get a response when you do file the paperwork. I mean, it's just really frustrating the amount of hoops that we have to jump through just to operate every day. So that's been frustrating.
And you're talking about like the state, like every time he needs to do a job, it's like with the government.
I mean, it literally, anytime a government job comes up, you spend the entire time 2 weeks before the job pushing paperwork and appeasing too many people that don't need to be involved at all. And then they sit in a lawn chair and watch you do the work the entire time. And then it takes 90 days to get paid. So it's not really inviting for us when we've got to do government paying jobs, but that's not really what I was kind of after. The frustrating thing for me is that just to keep up with the changes, the legislation changes, we have been an on-time bill payer, and that didn't become a challenge until last year. And it's really hard to do the soft stuff because there's so much paperwork that has to be done now. And so that's really frustrating. But my number one frustration is that I don't feel like our schools are helping prepare our young folks for the workforce. And so we are now trying to create workforce development programs post high school just so that we can get kids and keep them to stay here. Because what they're being told is feelings, 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 your feelings, me, from parents and teachers and everything they're hearing. And then they show up here and they're like, wait, I don't get a 15-minute timeout? Why not? I'm feeling upsetty spaghetti, right? And we're like, no, you're a grown up now. You have to show up to work and earn a paycheck. And so that gap between that's honestly what led me to wanting to be so curious about this generational gap is that we're getting young people out of high school and sometimes out of college that are being told they're not hearing the right message. There's still a lot of learned helplessness where people are expecting someone else to think for them, someone else to have ideas, someone else to tell them what to do on a daily basis. And these are smart, intelligent, bright kids that have great futures. But I would say it takes us 2 to 6 months to convince them of that every time they start.
Wow. And then do you notice that is it because they're coming right out of high school? Or do you think universities are also not preparing?
Yeah, I mean, we get our employees two ways. Once we usually get them right out of high school, or we get them through a program that we have with a local university.
Okay.
And our university kids are so much more prepared and they can critically think and they can problem solve and they can take constructive feedback. But what we're getting from the high schools right now, it's pretty generalized. It's pretty frustrating how much they don't know or they don't feel confident to eye contact, handshaking, answering a simple question from a customer. They're so meek and timid right now that we basically have to build little self-confidence opportunities in just so that they can answer a question if somebody asks them a question.
You wouldn't have thought that's part of your job, right? Because
Well, that's the thing. You can't just be a numbers person. You can't just be a doers person. You now have to be part psychologist, part parent, part teacher, and that's exhausting. I don't know how you write a formula for keeping that up. We do our best, but there's two of us. When I'm tired, Mike fills in. When Mike's tired, I fill in. Our retention rate, if we don't do it, is about 5 months. And I don't start making a profit on a new employee until 7 months.
well, thank you for sharing that. What are things that you measure, or metrics that you measure on a weekly or daily or monthly basis?
Yeah, so I have a KPI spreadsheet. I should have sent it to you. But that KPI spreadsheet turns red, green, or yellow for me based on our annual goals. So I set annual goals, and then each department has their individual goals, and then we write the KPIs to support those. So things I measure on a weekly basis is employee labor percentage. That's our biggest thing because our product is our employee. And so for us, our largest expense is employees. So we watch that like a hawk. And we use loaded labor rates for that so that we cover the taxes and the bennies and all the extra stuff that we throw in there to make sure that's covered. The other thing we monitor is a quota for each of our supervisors to do job site inspections. How much operations is spent for supplies and tools is on there. How many bids we did that week, how many we sold, and what our conversion rate is on there. Our accounts receivable percentage. So if accounts receivable greater than 31 days is higher than 15%, we stop what we're doing and contact the people that owe us money. I track social events. So last year, Mike and I took a sabbatical and went and flipped another franchise in another state, and we were gone for 7 months. The team did a really good job maintaining, but we certainly did not grow last year, and we got to learn a ton about it. One of the things that we noticed is that our customers really missed us at our networking events. That's where our connections are really being solidified and made, is at those after hours events. And so I track those now. I also track our social posts because if we're not doing an SEO post at least twice a week, we'll lose our groundage on Google.
Wow. Just all the metrics, and you just know the business so well. Where do you want to be 6 to 12 months from now?
6 to 12 months. Interesting. So I'm actually working on a diversity inclusion coaching program right now with people that are way smarter than me. And I really would like to see that come to fruition just because I think it's needed in way more places than here in my shop. But I'd love to see that get kicked off. Our job, this is funny, but Mike and I tell ourselves that we know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing when we both get fired, right? I have been fired from all day-to-day tasks. I don't know what customers we're servicing on a daily basis. I have no idea what's happening in the day-to-day. I think it's time for us to get Mike there. Selfishly, I need him back on the innovation side. He's our ideas and genius guy. So I'd like to get him back. So I'd like to see my husband get fired in the next year. We've hired a production manager to do that, and he is just killing every task we give him. So the production manager's job is to manage all of these metrics and make sure that everybody in the organization is doing what they're supposed to be doing to support that. And if not, making sure we know it before it's 3 months too late. And so I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Because I think that'll break open our next ceiling.
Yes. And that's such a good mindset to have, because I notice a lot of owners are just so immersed, right, in the day to day, like you said, and then they can't really scale.
You can't. We've been operating like a $500,000 company for the last 3 years, and it's exhausting because we're constantly chasing our tail, right? So this year we spent a ton of time and invested in really processing as much as we possibly could. And now I have so much free time. I'm here talking to you on a Wednesday.
That's great. And is that what, I guess, that processing and getting in the talent to kind of fire you, is that what got you to the million, from 500 to a million?
Absolutely. We were stuck until we did it. And I know that as soon as we free up Mike, we're going to jump to that next level too.
Is that hard for you to let go?
It truly is for me. So I am very OCD. I'm very want to have my hands in everything. Just as mama bear, like it's really hard for me not to know the details. It's getting easier. Knowing and trusting that I have an amazing staff is really helpful. I tell folks all the time, do not hire a maybe. If this person wouldn't score an A or a B on a test that you would give them right there on that day, don't hire them. You're better off. You're wasting your energy if they can't already be at that level.
Right. Honestly, would have never known that you weren't in the details just by the way you're talking. So what would you tell your younger self if you were to do things over?
Slow down. I know that sounds funny, but I'm pretty quick to respond. And sometimes that gives off the wrong answer, and sometimes it gives off the wrong impression. So I would listen a little more. I probably would have fired myself a lot sooner. I was trying to wear too many hats, and I had deluded myself to a point where I got pretty burnout between years 2 and 4. I would say if somebody would have given me a golden parachute last year, I would have taken it. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because this year we are just having a blast.
What year could you have let or fired yourself?
I think I probably could have done it year 2. If I knew then what I know now, I think we definitely could have done it year 3. I know we probably could have done it year 2. But again, we were bootstrapping. So it's easier to fire yourself if you have a little bit more capital. I sort of had to do some of those roles simply because we couldn't afford them in some capacities.
Okay. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, it's super easy, actually. You can go to squeegeesquad.com. You can type in Topeka, Kansas, and it has a feedback form. Or I'm on LinkedIn, Alignable, and you can just email me directly. The one thing that's really interesting is that when you email me, make sure you don't forget the last letter. So it's Melissa C at squeegeesquad.com. That's important because there are 3 Melissas that own Squeegee Squad. And our territories actually almost touch. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And they're brilliant. So call any of the other Melissas too, because they certainly helped me along. But yeah, I love hearing these things. I literally just went to coffee with a gal this morning, and just hearing her insight has already helped me come back and do something different. So I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I learned so much from you. I'm so happy that we met, and I'm gonna, as I start my franchise, I'm gonna be reaching out for a lot, I'm sure. So thank you so much for doing this. So that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you got value, share it, tag us, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Catch you next time on the Ascend Growth AI podcast.